Hi, good evening, everybody. General members, new members, fam heads, and of course, board. My name is Arvin Limjoco. I'm a first-year data science student, a proud Suki Pookie, a Simpline representative, and I'm super excited to announce that I am running for next year's treasurer. So, how will I accomplish that? Ever since joining Fusion, I became obsessed with anything and everything about it. From the professional academics to the unique support that everyone gives each other, and just the heartwarming community. I've loved every moment since joining this club. And I hope that as treasurer, I'll be able to grow and give back to this wonderful community and help Fusion reach its aspiring peak form. And of course, let's get into the logistics of things. In Fusion, treasurer is responsible for mainly the financial aspects of the club, whether that be updating the ledger, reimbursements, or just overall looking at all transactions that go on in the club. And with this, I feel that as a data science student and someone who is interested in data analysis, I feel that I could apply my interest and my passion to the role of treasurer. How would I accomplish this? Well, with the power of Python and Google Sheets, I'll be able to automate not only the process of treasure, but also make it efficient for future generations of treasurers. And not only that, but better communicate and help the board understand what's going on with all this data. You know, sometimes looking at all this money, it gets confusing, but I feel that as a person, I'm able to elevate that position in that way. Now, in regards to more of the burdens of treasure, some of that comes with, of course, budgeting. Budgeting accounts for any events we have planned in the future. Sometimes it can be hard, especially with things such as winter retreat or spring retreat. And one way that I found to counteract this is by collecting data. And one way we do this is through the general admissions form. Now, what I had planned was we could have a list of all potential events we have for the future of that year and get a gauge on what events people garner more interest to. Through that, we can better plan and budget for Fusion's future. And that way, the stability of Fusion's financial status is better prepared for, and when that happens, there's more room for Fusion to experiment with new meetings, new FEB projects, or even just, above all, allow Fusion to flourish. There's an old saying that I once heard from my mom, and it's a Filipino saying. It's, "Kung may atinanim, may aanihim." In other words, you reap what you sow. As treasurer, I plan to take the seeds and groundwork laid by previous generations and build upon them so that the future of Fusion is secured. In other words, or in a more simpler sense, I'm sure many of you have heard the English saying, time is money. With your trust, I plan to take all the resources and time that Fusion spends on Fusion and take with every penny and every minute and invest it into Fusion's future so that every moment and every place that Fusion takes on is a more rewarding and an impactful place for anyone. With that being said, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'm super excited to run as next year's potential treasurer. Thank you.
Executive board members are the core leaders of Fusion Board and are required to make tough decisions for the well-being of the whole club and your board buddies, project, and fundraising. Can you explain your leadership skills and how you will tackle this responsibility?
Ooh, I love this question. Okay, so basically, how I handle typical decisions and leadership is making sure that every information and each piece of what's being debated on is researched. That way, because when disagreements happen, typically it's because people have different definitions of things. Maybe there's something they can't agree on. And so once everyone is aware and has communicated about that decision, that way, as a whole, the board can officially decide what decision to make. To answer your question, to navigate through the space of exec board and to rise to that occasion, I plan to take as much time and possible to communicate and reliably ensure that the board is aware of potentially any issues going on, anything that needs to be researched, and just have a proactive mindset so that things are handled before they get worse. And I think that's the best approach for handling anything, and I hope that I can bring that to the space of executive board.
Next question. With only 1 year of experience with Fusion as a general member, how will you make sure that you are fit for the position regarding its... Oh, okay, I think it ends there. How will you make sure that you are fit for the position?
To make sure that I'm fit for this position, I've definitely gone through lengths of careful research and thought about how I can improve Fusion as a whole, and especially the role of treasurer. And I feel that as my knowledge with programming languages and Google Sheets, some of those include Power BI, which is a Microsoft application used for data analysis. That way I can definitely show that board that I'm able to communicate what the state of Fusion's financial stability is. Some other things for planning, for making the role of treasurer easier in the future is something called AHK. What AHK stands for is Auto Hotkeys, which is essentially a program that allows, or will allow treasurer to be able to easily input information into what would normally be manually inputted into Google Sheets.
Next question is, as it shows that you've done research to prepare for this platform, what further steps will you take to ensure that you are up to date with Fusion's inner workings as a gen member?
Of course, the simple answer to that question is communication and the constant attendance of being treasurer. With that comes gaining information, understanding what's going on, and making sure that everyone is on the right page and on the same page, of course, so that if I were to tackle any decisions, I'm making sure that every executive board is aware of that.
Next question is, Fusion's balance is all but predictable. Since you plan on listing the events for the entire year, how do you intend to ensure each event receives the amount of funds it deserves?
So part of that comes with, of course, fundraising and budgeting. And what I plan to do is definitely increase or encourage the new fundraising role to have more outreach on types of fundraising, as well as just generally have a proactive mindset of accounting for what we should have at a certain time so that we can prepare for huge events such as Winter Retreat or FusionCon or the FET project, as well as getting a jump on things to ensure that Fusion has the right funds, such as collaborating or communicating with FSI and other Filipino and engineering organizations.
Next question is, what, if any, previous experience do you have as a treasurer or in a treasurer-adjacent like position?
One answer that I have for this question would take me back to the job that I worked actually last summer as a cybersecurity teaching assistant for a summer camp. And while that may not sound like a treasurer position, I had to keep track of a lot of data that includes student feedback, student grades, and just general responses. And of course, report to the higher-ups on things that can be approved on, what should we be wary of, and of course, just making sure that nothing bad happens.
Last question is, who is your favorite Fusion bid competition? Your sister by blood, Limjoco, past Fusion alumni, or your dad by heart, Arvin, who birthed you this year?
Oh, you're gonna make me answer that? I love both of them, and that's probably the most honest answer I can give.